Welcome back, folks, and it's that time. Rudy, where do all the collections that people send to you, collections go to disappear, they go to die, they go to disappear and to never be seen again into the Rudy dungeon? Well, today, the gentleman named Julian said, Rudy, I need the money. I'm spending all my money on inappropriate things with inappropriate women in Las Vegas. So buy my cards. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So Julian sent me his collection. We just purchased this collection, came into the store about a couple days ago. Deal is done, and let's see what Rudy ended up to never be seen again by the public that makes Timmy's cry. They make you go to the restaurants and eat 14 hamburgers. Well, we got a revised set. Well, a partial revised set. The most important thing I look at when looking at revised sets is, wow, this is actually a really clean set. There's not a lot of value in the regular set. It's great. They're very cheap. A whole regular set without dual lands, maybe without like Brain Geyser or Copy. I mean, you can get a whole regular set very, very cheap online. I don't even think it's a couple $100s. But they're beautiful. And like I told you guys in my revised video the other day, I'm not really building revised sets anymore because I used to take all those cards I showed you, the expensive ones, and build a bunch of sets. But the market just really isn't there. The set collecting mentality and mindset is very long gone. So it is what it is. Serendip! That's about it. So I just want to share this. Fork, another one. But again, I do firmly believe there's going to be a time that everyone's arms are going to be hairy, and I actually think a lot of these cards are going to go up in value. I think the Shivan Dragons, Armageddons, Balance, the fact that these cards are from 94, I know revised print runs so high, and they're so cheap, I feel the market still feels she's out of whack. That's the issue with this. I mean, you've got cards like Veteran Bodyguard, which was cut off very early, not in fourth. Basalt Monolith, infamous card. You know, Grim Monolith Basalt type thing, different combos, Voltic Keys, all kinds of goofy things. And, you know, it's just, they're cheap. It amazes me that, you know, some of them are starting to move, but overall, there hasn't been a dramatic movement. Now, obviously, the first thing you do whenever you look to buy any revised sets, which is what I do, I go right to the 10 duels, and I pull out the expensive ones, the Undergrounds, the Volcanic, Hairy Arm, and the very first thing I do is I de-sleeve and I double check for authenticity. These are very beautiful. Not perfect. There's some surface. See, the issue with a lot of Magic cards, the number one thing people miss is surface. From a distance, the cards all look perfect. They look great, beautiful, clean, and then usually when you flip them over, you realize they're not mint, and that's why the prices get dinged. And then on top of that, the surface is what people miss. You can see staining, usually dense issues from binders, and of course, usually the back contains the most from being slid on tables, and of course, the whitening edges are always the most obvious. So obviously, for example, this would not be a full near mint, full price paid type thing because these are obviously going to be played, but they look beautiful. Like you look at that, and you know that's one of the fallacies we run into in the price disparities is that, Rudy, my cards are all mint, look. Then I take them out, I get them out of the sleeves, I look at them and say, okay, well, that actually does look pretty nice. And actually, this one's actually not bad. See, this one's a lot nicer than the other one. This one's definitely not gradable mint, but this is definitely going to be a light play condition. Again, surface issues, especially on the rear. The back, the rear is always the biggest issue when you deal with old cards because of the era of no card sleeves back in the day. So that's it for binder number 1. Binder number 2 says, Rudy, give me more money. I said, okay. We go over to Antiquities, folks. Unfortunately, I just hit the camera. Boop, boop, boop. Unfortunately, as you'll learn very quickly, this is a gorgeous set of Antiquities. Not perfect again, same thing. You can already see you got the white chipping, but beautiful set. Not going to be too picky about it, but again, it's not minty, not gradable. And unfortunately, he's got a lot of the nice cards, the really sweet ones, but he does not have the infamous Workshop. The most expensive $1,000 card in the set is not here, so that kind of sucks. But other thing I always remind people on these videos, remember, there is variance to the brown on Antiquities on different polishes of the surface. Some feel waxy, some feel normal, some are darker brown, some are lighter brown. All shades of brown are okay. Just remember, does not mean just because a different shade of brown, it is fake, fraudulent, or not as good. There is variance, and that is A-okay. Remember that, folks. So, but we do want to check the other cards. You get a lot of mid-tier and lower-end. You get the Power and Transmutes, the 2 blue buddies. You got the lower-end cards like Gate to Fire X and Haunting Winds. And of course, you got some little ones like the Avenger. So there are cheaper reserve list cards. You do want to kind of check, make sure they're here. Even Shatterstorm's creeped up to a few bucks. Rudy's Favorite Archaeologist, even COP Artifacts, and then of course Factories. Of course, the most important, always check the winter factories. That's always, because that's the best, most sought after factory. You want to make sure, because the price swings pretty hard on these. This particular one looks actually very nice. Wait, this one looks very nice. This is actually a very nice near mint factory. That is a very good one. I got nothing negative to say. I know the comment section, holy crap, Rudy didn't bash it. So, of course, make sure you got your 4 strip mines. Make sure they have the variant artwork, especially the tiny little Mr. P. And then after that, you got all the Tron cycle lands. Nothing crazy on that. Then we zip on over to the dark. You know, I love the dark. I really do. Eater of the Dead, the infamous card, Frankenstein's monster. You know, but at the end of the day, there's just not much money in it, which sucks because a lot of people collected the dark. It's like the Fallen Empires type thing of the 4 Horsemen. It's the weaker one, but it's a great set. It's amazing. Mana Vortex still extremely cheap. You know, Lurker still very, very cheap. You know, anybody? Psychic Allergy? Was it Psychic Allergy? You can't see it. Psychic Allergy. I think it was Psychosis or Psychic? Psychosis? No, Psychic Allergy. Sorry. You know, there are cards that have a little bit of value, but nothing too extreme, people. The Wood's a weird one. The Hag's a weird one. Ball Lightning's always classic. Wormwood, Tree Folk. Infamous Blood Moon, which really isn't as infamous anymore due to the number of reprints, but it's still the OG original artwork there. And that is the only original artwork with the black frame. Remember, Chronicles had the white frame, which is not as sought after. And then you got a little foo-foo stuff. You know, Eater of the Flames, Caves, you know, some of the cheaper goblins. Goblin Wizard is one that people kind of actually like to go after. It's a little tougher to get. Believe it or not, the Orc General is a little tougher, but some of these weird ones, you know, Cleansing, Mana Clashes, Inferno, they're a little tougher to get, but they're still not, I mean, total, you may be looking at what? $200 for the whole set if you have a complete nice set. I mean, they're just not a lot of money in the dark. It's more of a sentimental, nostalgic thing. Preacher for the longest time was the big daddy. And you got some little stuff. Fire Brimstone, little worker action here. So, before we move on, one little thing. Obviously, Stone Calendar, the push to move that $40-50 never stuck. It's back down to like, what, $5-10 or something, depending on condition. Maze of Ith has always been, in my opinion, extraordinarily underpriced. Why that remains to be that cheap blows my flippin' Timmy Taco load, because I don't get it. I know that's reprinted, it's not reserve list, but it's the original artwork, original framing, original... It just doesn't... You know, Sorrow's Path, Safe Haven, some of these other ones, same thing. There's just not... The demand just isn't there, everybody. So we got a little tiny chunk of Arabian Nights over here also. Not a complete set. We got a really nice Dujon Dion, Mr. Dujon Dijin, Mr. Evil Man, and a little Obulette action. And again, don't forget too, some of these little guys, the El Hajjajis. I love saying these names, especially when people get angry in the comment sections. El Hapupu, Sorceress Queens, you know, Afrits. Some of these are actually not common cards, and there's actually a little bit of value to them. Not a lot. You can maybe like $5-10 a piece. Cabal Ghoul, one of my favorites that really is still extremely underpriced. I don't know if we'll ever see the market movement. There's just no demand for it. Flying Men, the infamous Vanilla 1/1 flyer. I just always thought it was unique. Dan, always unique symbolic cards. Serendib, the Jinn, not a Freet. One of the ones I actually started buying, one of my first Arabian Night cards, started buying a long time ago, 3 years ago, when I first bought my first 20-30 of them. I think I was paying like $20-30 a card. Can't remember. I think even now, they're probably about $80, $90, $100, depending on condition. If Biff, there was some attempt at moving that. Singing Tree was another one of my faves from Arabian Nights. I always thought, I bought so many of these when they were $20 a piece, because I just love the card. I just think it's a great card. That's all I have to say about that card. It is what it is. When we get to this stuff, these mid-tier foo-foo-y kind of Aladdin, Alibaba, the Afrit, Cyclone, they are not commons, and believe it or not, there is some value to these, especially if you can get a perfect gradable condition. But even then, $5-10 a card is probably going to be the average price range. But again, I don't check prices and I make crap up as I go, so do your own thing. King Solomon, that is one that I'm still surprised remains pretty cheap, especially for old school. The fact that everybody plays Dijins and Afrits, and the fact it can ping them out. I mean, and it's only a 2-drop. I find that to be pretty impressive of a card. And the fact it's still pretty cheap, to me, that's still an opportunity, but that's just me. Pyramids, another one of my favorite cards, just because it was a cheesy symbolic, that Egyptian theme, huge fan. Bottles of Solomon, Jander's Ring, same thing. A lot of little foo-foo stuff. Jewel Bird, Brass, Horsies. Rudy bought a horse, we know. City in the Bottle's probably going to be your heavy hitter for this particular page. because the days of them printing cards that just destroy all cards from a certain expansion are never going to happen again. I think I've heard rumors they even regretted doing cards that destroyed cards from all certain set symbols, because in the future with different sets and varieties and reprints, how does that really work, you know? So anyways, last but not least, wanted to share, Julian said, Rudy, I need my money for bad things. So here's my expensive stuff from the Alpha Beta Legends. And by Alpha Beta Legends, I mean just no alpha, but just beta. Nothing expensive. We're talking common cards mostly. But they're very cool, and I can never have enough. We got a little, Thought Laces are rare. Woo woo. Animate Artifact. That's actually really cool. I'm a big fan of that. And a lot of things people didn't realize, even I didn't realize for the longest time, like water elemental, walls of water, those are actually uncommons. Those are not commons. Like everybody knows like a feedback or animate artifacts is uncommon, but wall of waters, I mean, certain weird things like that are surprisingly, you kind of forget that some of those are more expensive than you think, and you got to be careful about that. You can't just bulk them out for like $5-10. They actually have some value. Same thing, little lizard guy, also known as the Basket, little thicket man, Le Druid, and then Lure, Wanderlust, one of my always favorite little cheesy watercolor pictures. I used to think False Orders was an uncommon or rare when I was a kid. I don't know why. I think because it was tough to find. Nothing crazy here. A bunch of commons, but Earthbind, that really does it for me. A bunch of commons. Lance, kind of a terrible card, but it's an uncommon, and I always thought it was cool. COPs, nothing to say. And again, COPs, again, a lot of people mess this up. COPs are common, Circle of Protections. The wards are uncommon. So of each color is uncommon, COPs are common. So last but not least, that's like I said, that's it for the betas. Library Ling is a cool one. The Cup, Rod of Ruin, little uncommon nice ones, pinging people for 1 damage, just annoying little cards. So a little uncommon action there. And then last but not least, we got some Legends cards. Again, a lot of people learn very quickly. Common Legend cards, they're cool, but there's very little value. Bulk Legend cards, I mean, they're neat, but the value ain't there. And some of them, these are decent. Greed is a cool one. Darkness, a little uncommon Abomination. Little Shimian Night Stalker, little Mold Demon's pretty sweet. Same thing, nothing too exotic on that page. I love them all. I love these things. Can never get enough. It goes into the Rudy basement to never be seen again. Juxtapost I think that was a rare, or at least a rare in Chronicles. A little Undertow action, little King Seas, nothing too crazy. Stormseeker was a cool one back in the day. Turtle's my favorite card in the history of Magic. Kidding, please don't send me a bunch of turtles. Chain Lightning, probably one of the coolest cards. One that I didn't even know existed until probably a couple years ago. For some reason, I don't know why. I didn't even know this existed. Like, I never saw the artwork before like 5 years ago, and I was like, what was this card? I don't know how. I overlooked it or missed it, but yeah, go figure. It turns out it's actually worth something now, too. It's kind of weird how that stuff happens. So, nothing crazy on that page. Cabals, I still think is going to come back and be a thing one day. Bloodlust, surprisingly, is not a bulk card, by the way, and it's actually an uncommon. Even though it was reprinted in 4th edition and other sets, it actually has value, and it's not a common. Winds of Change, still thinks it's a pretty cheap card. Land Tax, I think, is actually priced where it should be, around that 20 to 40 range, depending on condition. Just the fact it's been reprinted, it's not reserve list. I think it's actually appropriately priced. I think that's about it, folks. Mana Batteries, I know, shows how bad of a... Oh, Kismet, that's actually something nowadays. Mana Batteries, it's funny, because I used to play with these in middle school and high school when I was going to school. I thought these were the coolest cards, and they were just stupid. I look back, I was like, man, I sucked at Magic. I still suck at Magic, I still don't know how to play. More of these weird cards no one ever heard of. The Life Matrices, more Mana Batteries. These are the type of cards, like I told you guys, about the Nova, the Life Matrix, a lot of these weird ones that have value that nobody realized before a couple years ago. Nebuchadnezzar, another one of these cool cards that have recently gone up quite a bit. And a couple of the gold cards, Elder Dragon Legends, doesn't even need to be talked about. Infamous original versions. Some little stuff here. Unfortunately, no Tabernacle, so we do miss the heavy hitter. We got a few little uncommon other ones. And that's it, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing some old stuff and relaxing with me today. And another collection goes into the basement of Rudy's dungeon of 50 Shades of Magic.